Web Marketing That Works podcast, episode number 84, with today's guest, Josh Turner.
Welcome to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. Come behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments and listen in as amazing guests confess the truth about what really works. Now, here are your hosts, Adam Franklin and Toby Jenkins.
My name's Adam Franklin, and you are listening to the Web Marketing That Works podcast. This is the show for people who love marketing on the web. I'll be taking you behind the scenes of real-life marketing experiments so that I can share with you the good, the bad, and the ugly. This show is brought to you by mine and Toby's book, which is also called Web Marketing That Works, and we've got a special gift for you, the listener. That is the bonus 33 free marketing templates that come with the book. So you can get your hands on those by downloading them from bluewiremedia.com.au/book. Now, the guest today is Josh Turner, the author of the brand new book called Connect, the secret LinkedIn playbook to generate leads, build relationships, and dramatically increase your sales. The book officially launches on the 15th of June, and there'll be a special link where you can order your free copy, and we'll reveal that during the show. Now, just quickly, Josh is the founder of LinkedIn University, an online training program that he's been running for the last few years, and I was involved in a mastermind in Chicago recently, and I had the pleasure of spending a weekend with Josh working through all things web marketing. He's a smart cookie, and the stuff he shares today about LinkedIn is really, really valuable. Whether you're a business owner or a professional, or whether you're looking to win customers or earn the attention of influencers, it's all in the show. So let's get right into the interview with Josh Turner. My name's Adam Franklin, and I am here with the author of the new book called Connect. His name is Josh Turner. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing awesome, Adam.
That's great. Now, let's talk LinkedIn. It's the topic of your new book. LinkedIn is, an absolute goldmine of opportunities for prospecting, for forming relationships. What's your particular take on the best approach, I guess, for generating leads for businesses?
Oh, man, we're getting right into it. I like it. So I think if I had to boil it down, it really comes down to developing the relationship first and taking the time to position yourself properly as one of the good guys, to develop that kind of know, like, and trust status so that then when you reach out to talk business, people are actually open to it. Whereas, if you're just going on LinkedIn and humping people's legs, it's just going to be a real uphill battle. It's like cold calling at that point, And so we've found that relationship building is really the best path to take to generating good results, And there's a lot of ways to skin the cat, but to really boil it down, that's what I would say.
That's so good to hear, because regular listeners of this show and students of my social media course will know that my philosophy is lead with generosity and form relationships and help people out and do the hard work and do the generous work of being valuable to other people. And then that's the starting point of relationships. And of course, LinkedIn has millions and millions of users. Every single person you could hope to have as a client or a customer or a student or a donor or whatever is on LinkedIn. It's up to us to actually identify who they are and look at ways we can form relationships with these people, because they're all there. But most people are going about it, as you say, humping people's leg, hassling them for meetings, for whatever, without actually taking the time to approach them from a standpoint of generosity.
Yeah, man. And I love the analogy of, like going to a networking event. Imagine if you went to a networking event and did what people do on LinkedIn, where you walk straight up to somebody, stick your business card in their face and start telling them how great your company is and how much you can help them. People would just walk right away. You'd be that guy that nobody wants to talk to. Yet, for some reason, people think they can go online and act like that,
Yeah, totally. And you see it all the time, the amount of LinkedIn requests you get without a decent welcome message and all sorts of things that people do wrong. What are some of the classic mistakes you see people make on LinkedIn?
Well, I mean, you just touched on one. I mean, that's, sending a connection request to somebody you don't know and including that stock LinkedIn message is a big one. We've seen that if you just take the time to write a personal message and just tell somebody why you want to connect with them, even if it's a generic script that you're using over and over again, it gets a much higher response rate than using that stock LinkedIn message that basically just tells people that you're just kind of firing off connection requests willy-nilly. So that's one thing I see all the time. Another mistake, I think, to speak more, big picture, is that people don't have a clear plan for what they're doing. So they're just wasting time on LinkedIn. They're just logging in, most people every day, logging in, seeing who looked at their profile, checking their inbox, maybe going into some groups, looking at some articles. It's just wasting time. They're just killing time. And maybe kind of imagining to themselves that it's productive and worthwhile. But for the most part, it's really not, And so instead, what we recommend people do is have a very clear plan for exactly what you're going to do so that every time you log into LinkedIn, you're not just poking around and wasting time. You've got a real focus and step by step exactly what you're going to be doing every day to try and reach your goals.
Yeah, right. So, of course, there's all sorts of different things you can do with LinkedIn. You can form direct relationships. You can publish content. You can contribute to groups. What sort of steps would you recommend people include in their plan?
So to start with, you got to get really clear on who you're targeting. We call that defining your prospect profile. You want to make sure that your LinkedIn profile is structured so that when those ideal prospects do visit you and take a look at your profile, that they take some next step with your business. And so, that comes down to really structuring your summary to, really highlight some sort of a call to action so that they either connect with you or download your free report or reach out to you for a consultation or sign up for your webinar or whatever. And then from there, you want to make sure you're in the right LinkedIn groups, the ones that your prospects and ideal clients are in, not your competitors. So those are a few of the really the basics. And then from there, I mean, from a tactical standpoint, there are probably 20 different, buckets that you could look at executing within LinkedIn, 20 different tactics within LinkedIn that you could consider. And you really just got to, figure out which of them makes the most sense for your business and focus on one or two that are really going to be the low-hanging fruit and really master those. Because if you try and do everything, it's just not going to work well. You need to be focused on what's going to make the most sense for your business.
Okay, so you're a professional and you've got your LinkedIn profile. What are some things in terms of optimizing your profile? Are there certain words we should be including or not including in order to, I guess, maybe stand out to attract the right types of traffic or the right types of leads?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that, yes, you can put keywords in your profile to try and rank on LinkedIn for certain search terms. That's valid, but I think it's a little overblown. I think for most people that do that, they don't see some flood of leads coming in the door. It takes, proactive work. It takes reaching out to prospects. It takes sharing content into LinkedIn groups, posting updates regularly to, get lots of profile views. And so then once these people are looking at your profile, you want to think about it as like a landing page, So for everybody that looks at your LinkedIn profile, what do you want them to do? Do you just want them to look at it and think, neat? Or do you want them to actually take some next step with your business? So yes, you want to have a professional headshot, or at least, something that's not too crazy. You want to have a headline that's really speaks to what's unique about your business. What benefits do you bring to your clients? What are your differentiators? What kinds of businesses do you help? Most people have a lame headline that just it'll say owner at JKW Associates LLC. And that, that doesn't tell anybody anything. And then what we really recommend is that you structure your summary section to really tell a story, work prospects through to that call to action for that next step. And also things like including, case studies, testimonials from clients, all that kind of stuff goes a long way too, because that third party social proof always has more impact than you just talking about how great you are. It's nice to have somebody else say it. So, those are a few of the things that we typically recommend with the profile specifically.
Nice. Yeah, because I did an interesting experiment the other week. I was listening to Noah Kagan on the Tim Ferriss podcast, and he said to do this experiment where you put a call to action just as an update on your LinkedIn profile, because he says we've all got we've typically got lead magnets, or what I would call flagship content. We've got, or even if we're starting out when we're looking to start an email newsletter, he said a lot of your friends and professional contacts won't necessarily know what you do, or won't necessarily know that there is a newsletter that they can receive. So he said simply go to LinkedIn and post an update saying, I'm writing this newsletter once a week or however often. If you're interested in receiving it, either click the link and sign up if you've got an opt-in page, or if not, just message me or email this email address and I'll add you onto the newsletter subscription list. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I wonder how that would actually go. And I positioned it as if I was just starting out, like I didn't use my 10,000 plus email list to get more people. I literally just put an opt-in link and a call to action on my LinkedIn profile. And I actually did it on Facebook as well. And across the two, we had about 50 people sign up in a week. So, I mean, if I was starting out, that would be 50 people that were getting my newsletter that weren't previously getting it from something so simple as telling your friends and professional contacts on LinkedIn. So there's some really powerful ways to use the data and to use the connections that you've got. What are some tips you've got on the etiquette within these groups? Because I know some people think, oh, well, there's 10,000 marketing people in a marketing group. That's awesome. I can just go in there and sell my product. And that's obviously not the right way to go about it. But yeah, what are the rules on etiquette in the groups?
I mean, there's every group has its own set of rules for the most part. But I would say, generally speaking, that, you don't want to just go into a group and start promoting yourself. That's not going to work. But go in and, kind of get a feel for what kind of stuff is going on in this group. Is it just discussions, or are they allowing people to post articles in the group? Or is it just a free-for-all of junk, in which case you might want to leave anyways, unless it's just a massive group, in which case that gives you access to the members in it to message them, connect with them and such. So you really got to look at each group almost on its own to see, well, what can I get away with here is really what it comes down to, And LinkedIn groups are, in my opinion, fabulous for two things. One, content distribution, and two, developing relationships with targeted prospects. And the content distribution just comes down to sharing content into your groups, your blog articles, videos, links about, upcoming webinars, white papers, any of that kind of stuff. And the relationship building side can come down to either engaging in comments to position yourself as a real expert in the groups that you're in and to develop rapport and connections that way. Or it can be as simple as just reaching out to people that are in common groups that you have. But don't do it in a way where you're reaching out and saying, I've got this awesome thing and I think it can help you and I'd like to sell it to you. Do it in a way where it's all about the relationship, where you're reaching out and saying, hey, I came across your profile here in the XYZ group, really liked the article that you posted about blah, blah, blah. Would love to connect with you if you're open to it. And that will get a lot of people connecting with you that way, which then they're in your funnel so that you can then continue marketing to them in all sorts of other ways.
Hey, a really neat thing I found in the LinkedIn groups is that people very often turn to the groups and they post their challenges or their problems that they're facing, and they want the group to respond and say, what would you do in this situation? Or here's what I'm struggling with. Have you guys got any tips on how to help? And if you go to those groups, you can see what your buyers are struggling with. And that's this perfect opportunity to publish a piece of content that addresses those needs and then deliver that piece of content back to the group and say, hey, look, I've written this addressing the needs that you people have all outlined in this thread. And that's a brilliant way to be contributing in a positive, generous way to the group. And then you're the trusted expert and you haven't had to sell them anything. It hasn't had to be uncomfortable or anything else. And all of a sudden you're helping this group of people that just so happen to fit your buyer description. And it's just such a untapped resource for a lot of businesses. But what sort of companies, in your opinion, would benefit from marketing on LinkedIn?
Yeah, and let me piggyback on what you just said real quick with another kind of tangential way to do that same thing. So you can use LinkedIn groups for crowdsourcing content. Go into a LinkedIn group, pose a question, get all sorts of feedback from people, and then develop an article that kind of highlights what these people are saying and quote them, give them credit for their thoughts, and then you can kind of summarize them in your own way and put this really nice article together based off it. And then it's great content for your website. And then you can share it with those people and say, hey, I thought what you said was so awesome. I quoted you in this blog post. And for the most part, most people will think that's pretty cool. But to answer your question that you just asked, what kind of businesses does this stuff make sense for? Well, Obviously, it's a slam dunk for B2B companies, businesses that are selling to other businesses, because they're all on LinkedIn. Any business you could potentially want to target, 95+% of them are, you can find them on LinkedIn. And, executives, business executives, there was a study done not too long ago that found that 76% of executives are using LinkedIn at least one time per day, logging in at least once a day to LinkedIn, so they're freaking paying attention to it. And so if your customers are sitting there on LinkedIn, your clients are there, and you don't have a strategy for trying to stay in front of them, then there's bound to be a competitor eventually that's going to do it. But it doesn't just have to be B2B companies. I spoke with a woman recently who runs a coaching program that her target demographic are, I think it's 35 to 55-year-old professional women, and it's a coaching program of some sort. And when I was speaking to her, she was saying, I don't think LinkedIn's the right fit for me. I'm more B2C. I'm targeting women. And I said, professional women age 35 to 55, they're all on LinkedIn. For the most part, most people 35 to 55 that are in a sort of a white collar, role are going to be on LinkedIn, and so no matter if you think you're, selling to consumers or businesses, those people are on LinkedIn. There's probably a way for you to leverage it. And, let's say you've got a consumer good. Let's say you're manufacturing dog collars, right? Well, you're not going to go on LinkedIn and try and sell a dog collar to somebody, but you can use LinkedIn to develop relationships with buyers of big retail chains. You can use LinkedIn to go after owners of more mom and pop type shops that might want to carry your product. You can target distributors, wholesalers, potential partners. So really the back office type stuff has huge applications, and not to mention getting press, and reaching out to editors, journalists, bloggers, people in the media, TV, radio. They're all on LinkedIn too, and so developing some rapport with them and giving them ideas about stories, of course, that would feature your business can be a great way to generate free press, and publicity. Any business could use that, so there's a lot of applications for a lot of different types of businesses.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point you make there, because I think the fact that you can connect with particularly journalists and media representatives, it's really powerful because the press that you can get from that is huge. And not to mention, the prospects and leads and clients you can win. But just on that point you make of reaching out to those journalists, I've actually found as well, if you don't always have to be, and it's best if you don't always pitch them your own stories, but if you understand what each of them writes about and what's their specialty, it's really good if you can actually introduce them to relevant stories that doesn't involve you. And because that way
Right.
You're leading with generosity and you're helping them about another particular story that you might have come across. And then, of course, if you're the dog collar person, then, of course, who are they going to call when they've got a dog collar related story? It's going to be you, because you've been generous and because you've helped them out in that first place. And I think the same goes for getting referrals on LinkedIn too. Like, yes, you can go around tapping people on the shoulder and annoying them for, whatever. But if you actually introduce them to somebody who's going to be of value to them and do it with mutual consent and do it in a way that demonstrates where the value lies between those two people. But if we get in the habit of making valuable introductions and even giving referrals before you expect referrals, then that law of reciprocity kicks in. And if you're the guy that's been swinging someone, real estate leads or insurance leads or whatever, then when there's dog collar leads, then of course that you're going to be top of mind in that person, and they're going to feel this, they're going to want to reciprocate and do something nice for you. So I like to go into LinkedIn and all social media, but LinkedIn specifically, with how can I help these people in my network, and strategically go about trying to help them on a regular basis and generating this goodwill, because it's definitely going to come back in spades. You don't know how, and that's not the idea of doing it, but give for the gift of being generous, and then it's amazing how everything sort of circles back and helps you out long term.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well said.
So, Josh, let's have a bit of a chat about what's in the book and some of the additional things listeners can get if they get in by a certain time.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book is really the playbook. And first off, it's called Connect. And the subtitle is The Secret LinkedIn Playbook to Generate Leads, Build Relationships, and Dramatically Increase Your Sales. And it's the playbook that my company's used to triple our revenue every year for the last 3 years, and that we've used for our private clients to generate millions of additional revenue for them. And it started out of a frustration I had when I first started working for myself in 2010 as a freelance CFO for small businesses here in St. Louis. And like a lot of other solopreneurs, when I first got started, I was doing all the stuff people say you should do, having coffees and lunches and going to networking events. I just found most of that time was unproductive because the people I was meeting with were usually not my prospects, and it just wasn't scalable. And for me, the numbers just didn't add up. And at the same time, though, I realized that the relationship capital that you gain through face-to-face meetings it's hard to replace. So what I figured out how to do was utilize LinkedIn to design a system that would allow me to connect with and position myself and my business as a leader and an authority in front of thousands of prospects in my market, and then to filter those prospects down to only the most high value, important ones, and then work those people through a systematic relationship building process that culminate in a request for a meeting. And it's taken us a few years to really perfect the system, but now we're there. And what we see is that utilizing this approach, 29% of prospects, on average, 29%, that are worked through the process will agree to a phone call or a meeting with you or somebody on your sales team. Or you can use the process to move them toward other offers like webinars, free reports, lead magnets, and whatnot. So I've been working on this book for 18 months, and it's really the most comprehensive guide, and that's why we call it a playbook, that we've ever released, that shows really every step of what we do for our clients and how we've grown our business using this process. So I'm super excited to really finally be in a position to put this out to the world, because I know it's going to help a lot of people. And so what I decided to do is, Adam, I put together a special link just for your listeners. All right. And so where you can go to get more information about the book is theconnectbook.com/media. Media, as in Blue Wire Media, your company. So theconnectbook.com/media. And what we're doing until the book comes out on June 15th is, if you get in on the pre-order on Kindle, then on June 15th, we will ship you a free copy of the book, and we will also enroll you for free in a LinkedIn course that is normally $197. So all you got to do is go to the link that I just shared, theconnectbook.com/media, and all the instructions will be there. So you can go do the pre-order on Kindle, send us your receipt, and then we will ship you the book on the 15th of June, and we will enroll you in the course too, man. So that's it.
That's a really cool offer. I've already gone and pre-ordered my Kindle, and I noticed when I was doing so that you'd already reached #1 bestseller in a whole bunch of different categories. So congratulations there. That's really cool.
Thank you.
So
thank you. Yeah, we're super excited about it.
Yeah, it's well deserved. Now, I'll include obviously a link to that in the show notes and email that to my readers as well as the people listening to the show right now. To close out the interview, I wouldn't mind asking you 2 more questions. One is, what piece of advice would you give yourself if you had all of the knowledge and information you have today, but you were just starting out your entrepreneurial journey or your professional journey?
Well, man, that's a tough question for me, because there's really nothing I would change about the last 5 years since I've been in business for myself. But I would go back a little further than that. And when I was the CFO of a construction company here in St. Louis that failed, and a lot of people lost their jobs. It was a tough time. It was a big company that grew very fast and then went down even faster. And I think what I would tell my former self that was a big part of that company's growth, as well as, our demise, was that you got to be focused. Don't try and do everything. You don't need to be trying to start new businesses every 6 months. Be the best in the world at one thing and you will do exceptionally well. So for me, focus is a big lesson that I've learned more recently. And I think the other one is that you just can never have enough cash in the bank. And because the rainy days are going to come someday, and it's just only a matter of when. not if. And you got to be prepared to be able to withstand those rainy days by having a nice war chest of cash in the bank, you know? And I guess the only other thing maybe from more recent times is just not to be afraid of investing in new marketing ideas. We probably could be twice the size we are right now if I would have been a little more aggressive a few years ago, you know, with rolling out new marketing initiatives and investing and testing and trying things. But, you know, everything happens for a reason, all in due time, and we're doing very well right now. So I'm certainly not complaining.
That's a really interesting entrepreneurial journey that you've, and business and career journey that you've been on, Josh. Thanks for sharing some of that stuff. And finally, what are you working on now that you're focused on and most excited about?
Well, I am very excited about this book coming out. I mean, that's been my primary focus for some time now, in addition to just kind of all the other day-to-day stuff in the company and helping our clients and all the folks going through our training programs. But the book has been a huge focus for me and has been a lot of fun, both, you know, writing it and producing it, as well as just the marketing behind it and everything else. And then getting to do a lot of, you know, interviews and podcasts and stuff like we're doing now, man. So it's been a lot of fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so listeners, head over to theconnectbook.com/media. And if you do what I do, stop the interview, get out your email and send an email to yourself with that link in it so that you remember to head over and order the book. I've already done it and I'm very much looking forward to reading it. I've been through Josh's LinkedIn marketing master plan, the 12 lessons you get worth $197 when you send him your Amazon receipt. So the URL, theconnectbook.com/media. And Josh, congratulations on the success of the book launch so far. I'm sure it's going to generate lots and lots more sales. I look forward to reading the book when it comes out. And thank you so much for coming on the show today.
It's my pleasure, Adam. I really appreciate you having me on, man.
Too easy. And that's a wrap for my chat with Josh Turner. And no surprises that he talks about having to be proactive and strategic and adding value with everything you do on LinkedIn. It's not just a matter of putting up a profile and hoping the right types of influencers or clients or journalists stumble across you. It really is a matter of going out and firstly having a plan as to what it is you want to achieve. Is it more customers, more exposure, more subscribers? And then secondly, putting that plan into action by being systematic and by being generous and by actually putting in the effort that it takes to get results on LinkedIn. As we said, with millions and millions of pretty much every single professional or business owner and entrepreneur on the planet is on LinkedIn. So it's really up to us to actually work out and put into practice everything we need to get value from this platform. So it's up to us, and Josh has outlined the steps that we need to take, very actionable, and I encourage you to head over to the website to not only pre-order the book, but to then send Josh the Kindle receipt and get your hands on his marketing program, his LinkedIn marketing program, which is worth $197. So head to theconnectbook.com/media. That's in for Blue Wire Media. So that's the URL again, theconnectbook.com/media. So the intent with these podcasts is to deliver actionable advice, and Josh has really delivered on that today. If you have any feedback or questions or guest suggestions, you can easily reach me at adam.franklin@bluewiremedia.com.au or tweet me at Franklin_Adam. And thank you for listening all the way through to the end of the show. If you enjoyed it, and I hope you did, I would love it if you could head over to leave us a review on iTunes. So just pause the podcast, or once it's over in a couple of seconds, head over to leave us a review and a rating. That is much appreciated by Toby and myself, and it really helps increase our visibility on iTunes so we can continue to attract good quality guests and share their insights with you, our valued listener. All right, so I will catch you on the next show. See ya.